it's time to take the elevator.
You'd rather take the stairs?
Ah, c'est moi qui... Mais putain.
Tables on the floor. Guaranteed they leave the freeze. Belfry, status.
Countless dead, and the temperature's still falling.
We need to stop this now.
Belfry wasn't kidding about this storm.
Almost there. I see the weather machine, ready with the disruptor.
That thing's drawing so much power.
Field disruptors in place. It's charging.
Get away from my storm engine.
Is that what you're calling it?
You don't want to be on the roof when this disruptor goes off. Trust me.
Irrelevant. I already have what I need. The storm has risen over Gotham. Nothing can stop it.
We'll see about that.
You cannot run from me! You will not stop me! Keep yourself to the cold.
That was so good. That was so good. Thank you so much, Patrick and Flora, for giving us this insight, all this info. I, for one, can't wait to play it. I'm sure everybody at home can't wait to play it. Speaking of everyone at home, before you take off, if that's okay, we'd like to answer a few fan questions. Yeah, cool. Here we go. Callum from the UK asks, what has driven you the most in the direction of this game?
Wow. Well, I'd say really there have been kind of three consistent ideas at the heart of Gotham Knights. First is having like a full cast of playable characters that can continue to grow and reinvent themselves. Second, a real living, breathing Gotham City that keeps challenging you, keeps serving up danger. And then finally, it's that fantasy of the superhero team up, and we want to be able to deliver that in co-op play.
Copy that. Alistair from Kenya asks, what goes into deciding which characters you are going to develop a game around?
Well, we chose characters who resonate with players on a few different axes. We wanted heroes who embodied different aspects of the Bat family. The detective side, as well as the fighter, the scourge of the underworld, the urban legend. We looked for characters that offer players a unique starting point and then a long runway for growth. Ultimately, we wanted heroes that could take on the forces that threaten Gotham City, but each bringing their own unique perspective.
Gotcha. Okay. Now we have Riley from the United States. Homegrown. Riley from the United States asks, could you give anything more on this WB Games Montreal game? Any other little tidbits?
We're actually sort of standing in it. The Belfry will be a very important location in Gotham Knights.
Yeah, I mean, we gotta keep a few secrets. We're gonna have more to talk about later.
We can tell you this. The mystery in Gotham Knights is way bigger than just the protocols.
Well, is there anything else that you would like us to know?
Well, our game is coming out in 2021, and we can't wait for everyone to play it.
Thank you all for tuning in. Thank you, Patrick and Floor, for sharing everything that you have. To everybody out there, I hope you've been enjoying DC Fandom. Continue to enjoy DC Fandom. I'm Zachary Levi. Mwah. Love you.
Wow. Just wow. Honestly, I've been yearning to step in the boots of those characters for a long time. I guess dreams really do come true. And don't go anywhere, we will be back with The Flash in a flash. So unless you can be in two places at once, be sure to stay with us.
Hey everybody, I'm Tyrone Edwards, your Canadian host, and I want to know how much you're loving DC Fandom. So tweet your replies right now with the hashtag DC Fandom. I'm so excited to be a part of this global virtual experience, the only place to hear the latest announcements from DC. We've got one for you now, so let's check out what's new with Sandman from the creator himself.
Hello, DC Fandom. I am Yvette Nicole Brown, and I am so excited to be here with you for the Sandman Universe Into the Dreaming DC Fandom panel. Today, we'll be discussing the comic book series and how it's been expanded with new stories, adapted into new media, and how it continues to enthrall audiences all around the world. Let's meet our awesome panelists. As one of the most popular and critically acclaimed graphic novels of all time, Neil Gaiman's award-winning masterpiece, The Sandman, set the standard for mature lyrical fantasy in the modern comics era. It has been translated in over 15 languages and is available in over 30 territories. I am thrilled to be here with Neil Gaiman. Hi, Neil. Nice to see you again.
Hi, Matt. Lovely to see you.
Oh, you look so good in your little box. Now, Neil, you started The Sandman as a ground-up reimagining of an older DC property. At what point did you realize how much bigger the story could be? Did you know from page one, or did you find it on the way?
A bit of both. Started in 1987 when I was a 26-year-old writer, and I'd been asked to write a monthly comic for DC Comics. And all I knew was that I needed something that I could go anywhere with, that I could tell any kind of story, because I'd never had to tell a story a month before, and I didn't know if I could. So Sandman was originally imagined as something that would let me tell any kind of story I needed to tell. Probably by the end of the first year, I knew what kind of thing I was doing. And I'd say by the middle of the second year, I knew the shape of the whole story, and I knew what was going to happen. I knew who was going to live and who was going to die, more or less. And then it was a matter of just holding on tight and hoping against all hope that I actually would be able to tell that story before it got cancelled. The original Sandman, the first book, Preludes and Nocturnes, is 8 issues long. And it's 8 issues long because at issue 8 was when they would call you and tell you they were cancelling.
Oh.
And that you would have, you had a year, so you had 4 more issues to wrap it up. So I had, my whole plan was it was going to be an 8-issue storyline and then 4 short stories, and then obviously we'd be cancelled, except we weren't cancelled.
30 years from the original series, what's exciting to you about seeing the story continue, both in its new adaptations and in the Sandman Universe comics?
Not feeling like I made a slice of history. Because, the idea that a 30-year-old comic still has relevance, that a story that's 30 years old, these were your grandparents' comics, and that they can still have relevance is incredibly exciting. So that's been part of the joy of watching over the last few years the Sandman Universe stuff, where people are just taking ideas and spinning off with them and going and having fun and building them, and the joy of having people like Cy and now like Willow writing some of these amazing artists is a joy. And also I'm getting to do Sandman in different ways. I've been getting to do it working with Dirk Maggs on Audible as a giant audio drama where we've done a very direct adaptation, and we're also getting to do it now with Netflix as a slightly looser but still faithful adaptation. So all of that is a delight, and it all makes it feel like something happening now and not like something that happened a long time ago.
The Sandman universe has a new series which started on August 4th, The Dreaming Waking Hours, and it's written by our next guest, G. Willow Wilson. G. Willow, I love your name.
Oh, thank you so much. Hi, Yvette. How are you?
It is so nice to meet you. Now, G. Willow, you first came to The Sandman purely as a fan in your teenage years. What did the series mean to you at that age?
You know, I first read The Sandman in the late 90s as a teenage goth. And for me, what's interesting looking back now is that by the time I read that series, it was already part of the culture. And so I was already wearing the death outfit without knowing what it was. So, you know, to pick up the series and be like, oh, this is where this comes from was really, really interesting for me. And it had a huge impact, I think, on my sense of how you tell stories in the graphic medium, of the scope of the kinds of stories you can tell, the way that you can put on a twist on legacy characters to make them relevant and fresh again for a new audience. And all of those tools that I was sort of unconsciously picking up reading that series at that age, I think have been tremendously valuable to me, you know, in my own creative life, reimagining different stories and working in, you know, sort of the Sandman universe. So it really feels like coming full circle.
Now, when you learned you were going to be writing The Dreaming Waking Hours, what did you want to bring into the universe that wasn't there yet? What was your in to the story?
When you're dealing with a legacy series that is as beloved as The Sandman is, you have to kind of balance two things. Number one, the history that longtime readers have with the series, the emotional investments that they have in that place and those characters, and also creating a new entry point for people who might not be as familiar with the series. I was sort of going through this roster of characters who've lived in the Sandman universe and in the Dreaming over the years and thinking, who haven't we heard from yet? And at the time I was going through a bout of insomnia and I was thinking to myself, my God, you know how happy I would be to have a nightmare right now, because at least it would mean I was asleep. And it was like a bolt out of the blue. All of a sudden, Ruin, this nightmare who's tired of being a nightmare, wants to be something else, was kind of there and complete. And I was like, oh, there it is. That's the end. That's how we get back into this history from a point of view that's conducive to bringing in new readers, and that maybe gives us a fresh perspective on this really beloved set of characters and place.
In my 20s, I used to have terrible nightmares. And then somewhere around year one of Sandman, they kind of stopped. And they stopped because every time I'd have a nightmare, I would wake up so happy. And I'd scribble it down. I'd grab a notebook by my bed and I'd put the details of whatever this awful nightmare was. And I would just be so happy. And they just stopped. And I figured that whoever sent the nightmares just got tired of getting the wrong reactions from you.
That's amazing.
I cannot wait to read Waking Hours. Okay, so let me just calm myself down, silence my inner fangirl. We mentioned how the Sandman was transcending the panels of the comic book page. In July, fans got to experience the Sandman Audible series. Joining us now is the director of that series, Dirk Maggs. Welcome, Dirk.
Thank you, Yvette. Lovely to be here.
Oh my gosh, and thank you for bringing your hair because it's amazing. Neil and Dirk, how did you guys first meet?
It was a hair retrospective.
I knew we'd go there.
We failed to meet, although we first encountered each other in about 1992 when Dirk was doing, he was adapting The Death of Superman for British radio as an audio drama.
Yeah.
And it became a huge phenomenon in the UK. And Phyllis Hume, who was at DC Comics back then, decided that we should become acquainted, and she gave Dirk Sandman.
She said, I think we've done our comic book stuff with you now, Dirkie. Off you go and do some terrible comedy instead. And so that was it. We didn't do it for the BBC. And I thought that was it, game over. So it was very sad because I'd never read anything like it. And actually, I thought of all the things we were doing, and I'm very proud of our Superman and Batman. But I thought, wow, this guy is writing some interesting stuff here. Wouldn't it be great to put it in a studio? Little knowing it would take 28 years to actually get there.
Well, it was worth the wait.
Yeah.
Dirk, what was the process of taking the comic book scripts and turning them into an audio experience?
Really, the process with Neil was very easy because Neil is still alive, which is an enormous amount of help. It actually means I can talk to the author without using a Ouija board. And not only that, but the author in this case is a supremely kind, indulgent, patient man who will put up with the questions of someone who normally is just a drummer and give him intelligent replies. So it was wonderful to have Neil accessible, and the real joy was to actually get Neil's original scripts, which he wrote at the time for the artists.
Okay, why not? D'accord. Ok, on va couper Internet. Ok.
Way through this, and I thought what we need is all the very best audio voice actors in London. And London is a really good place to get voice actors because, of course, BBC still runs spoken word and drama and so on and so forth. So actors as busy as Michael and James, who was in a play at the time, you know, you're not expecting to see them. You're getting people who normally would get a marquee, who are just who were coming in as part of the ensemble, and everybody kind of checked their egos at the door. And we ended up with a really lovely cast. We were pretty much doing the story from soup to nuts. So if you're in the room with them, you're watching one of Neil's greatest stories just happen in front of your eyes with a bit of extra Shakespeare here and there. So it was a wonderful experience.
Speaking of the amazing cast, we are joined by the devilish
Laissez faire, l'immédiat.